Admiral Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display aboard the Earth Defense Command Station, watching as another colony world went dark. The Nexus Plague, as they called it, wasn't like anything humanity or its alien allies had encountered before. It didn't arrive in massive ships or with apocalyptic weapons. Instead, it came as a silent, invisible wave of microscopic machines that transformed everything they touched into more of themselves. "Status report on the Arcturus settlement," Chen asked, her voice steady despite the weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. The young lieutenant at the monitoring station shook his head, his dark skin pale under the harsh light of the emergency beacons. "Complete loss of communication, Admiral. The quantum entanglement network went offline 3 hours ago. Preliminary data suggests total conversion of the biosphere has already begun." The Galactic Council, an alliance of 27 spacefaring species, had called an emergency session. On the main view screen, representatives from across the galaxy argued in their native tongues, their translation matrices struggling to keep up with their panic. "We must evacuate immediately." The Zinthari delegate's crystalline form pulsed with fear patterns. "The plague has already consumed 4 systems in the past month alone." "Evacuation to where?" The Morat representative's tentacles writhed in agitation. "There's nowhere left to run. The plague spreads faster than our fastest ships." Chen watched the debate with growing frustration. The Council had always been this way, reactive, never proactive. But humanity had learned different lessons from its history. While the Council debated, Earth had been preparing. "Admiral," her AI assistant materialized beside her, its holographic form taking the shape of a classical Greek scholar. "Project Synthesis is ready for implementation. Dr. Patel reports all test phases have been completed." Chen allowed herself a small smile. For 15 years, humanity had been working on something revolutionary, something that combined their understanding of biological systems with advanced nanotechnology. While other species sought to fight the plague with conventional weapons or run from it, humanity had taken a different approach. "Send word to all Earth Defense Command installations," Chen ordered. "Initiate Protocol Omega. It's time to show the galaxy why humanity never stopped evolving." Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in vast underground laboratories, thousands of scientists and engineers were putting the finishing touches on humanity's response to the plague. They had created something unprecedented, ships that weren't just machines, but living entities, grown from a fusion of organic and synthetic materials. These vessels could adapt, evolve, and most importantly, communicate with the plague on its own level. Each ship contained a neural network based on human brain patterns, giving them the one thing the plague didn't have: consciousness, creativity, and the human drive to survive against all odds. "Dr. Patel," Chen called over the quantum link, "begin launch sequence for the Genesis fleet." The Council meeting erupted into chaos as Earth's orbital shipyards suddenly came alive with activity. Massive organic-looking structures began to emerge from hidden bays, their surfaces rippling with patterns that seemed impossible for solid matter to create. "What are these abominations?" the Zinthari delegate demanded, their crystalline form flashing with patterns of shock and disgust. "These," Chen addressed the Council for the first time, "are humanity's answer to extinction. We call them the Genesis fleet, ships that can evolve as fast as the plague itself." The first of the new vessels took up position around Earth, their massive forms dwarfing conventional ships. Unlike the sterile, geometric designs of traditional spacecraft, these ships looked almost alive, their hull patterns constantly shifting, analyzing, adapting. "You've violated every treaty on biological and synthetic weapon development," the Morat representative accused, but there was a note of desperate hope in their voice. "We didn't violate anything," Chen corrected. "We simply found a third path. The plague isn't alive in any conventional sense, but neither is it purely mechanical. So we created something that exists in between, just like humanity has always existed between what is and what could be." As the Council watched in stunned silence, The Genesis fleet began to move. Their surfaces rippled with patterns of light and energy, communicating with each other in ways that defied conventional physics. They were ready to face the plague not as victims, but as equals in the race for survival. The silent threat that had terrified the galaxy was about to meet something it had never encountered before: humanity's relentless drive to evolve, adapt, and overcome. The real war was about to begin, and humanity had changed the rules of engagement forever. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the heart of the Mars underground complex, surrounded by holographic displays showing the real-time evolution of the Genesis fleet. Around her, a team of scientists from every field imaginable worked in perfect synchronization, monitoring the integration of organic and synthetic systems that made these new vessels possible. Neural pathway integration at 98%, reported Dr. James Chen, the quantum computing specialist. His hands danced through the air, manipulating complex data streams that represented the consciousness of their creations. The ships are beginning to form their own unique thought patterns. Maya watched as the newest vessel, designated Phoenix 7, demonstrated unprecedented levels of adaptive behavior. Unlike traditional ships that needed explicit programming for every action, these vessels could learn, adapt, and even improvise in real time. The secret lay in their revolutionary structure, a combination of quantum computers and synthetic organic tissue that mimicked the human brain's neural plasticity. Admiral Chen, you need to see this, Maya called over the quantum link. The Admiral's holographic form materialized instantly in the laboratory, her expression alert and focused. Show me. Maya gestured to the main display where Phoenix 7 was actively modifying its own structure in response to simulated Nexus plague attacks. The ship's surface rippled like liquid metal, but beneath that motion was purpose. Each change represented a new defense mechanism being developed in real time. The neural networks aren't just adapting, Maya explained, excitement evident in her voice. They're anticipating. Phoenix 7 has started developing countermeasures for plague variants we haven't even encountered yet. It's exhibiting true creative problem-solving. Admiral Chen's hologram stepped closer to the display, studying the data with intense focus. How soon can we deploy the full fleet? The first wave is ready now, Maya replied. 20 ships, each with the processing power of 1 billion human brains, but with something the plague could never replicate: human intuition and creativity. In the massive underground hangars, the Genesis fleet vessels pulsed with life. Unlike the sterile corridors of conventional ships, these vessels' interiors were a seamless blend of organic and mechanical systems. Curved corridors adjusted their shape based on crew movement patterns, while neural interfaces allowed direct communication between ship and crew. We've installed the latest biotech upgrades in all vessels, Dr. Rodriguez, the Chief Biotechnology Officer, reported. The organic components can now regenerate at rates exceeding our initial projections. Even if the plague manages to breach the outer layers, the ships can heal themselves. Admiral Chen nodded, her hologram flickering slightly as she processed the information. The Council is still debating whether to support our initiative. Most species can't comprehend what we've created here. They don't need to comprehend it, Maya said firmly. They just need to survive long enough to see that it works. Deep within Phoenix 7's neural core, Maya had installed something special: a quantum consciousness engine that allowed the ship to experience emotions, albeit in a very controlled way. The ability to feel fear, courage, and determination would make it more than just a weapon. It would make it a true ally in the fight for survival. Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity from the fleet, James called out suddenly. On the main screen, the 20 Genesis vessels had begun moving in perfect synchronization, forming patterns that seemed to defy conventional space-time physics. They're communicating, Maya breathed, watching in awe. Not just with each other, but with the quantum fabric of space itself. They're creating their own network, independent of our command systems. Admiral Chen's hologram showed the first hint of concern. Is this safe? Maya smiled confidently. It's more than safe. It's exactly what we hoped for. The ships aren't just tools anymore. They're becoming true partners. Each vessel has imprinted on its crew's consciousness patterns, creating a symbiotic relationship that goes beyond simple pilot and ship. In orbit around Mars, the Genesis fleet continued its mysterious dance, their surfaces shifting with patterns of light and energy that seemed alive. They were preparing for war in their own way, developing strategies and countermeasures that even their creators couldn't have imagined. Send word to Earth Defense Command, Admiral Chen ordered. Tell them Project Phoenix is no longer just a project. It's humanity's evolution made manifest. We're ready to take the fight to the plague. As the orders went out, Maya watched her creations with pride and wonder. Humanity had done what it always did best, taken an impossible situation and transformed it into an opportunity for advancement. The Genesis fleet wasn't just a defense against the plague. It was the next step in human achievement, a bridge between the organic and synthetic that would change the course of galactic history forever. Captain Diana Reyes stood on the command deck of Phoenix 7, though stood wasn't quite the right word. Through the neural interface, she was Phoenix 7, feeling every ripple of its biosynthetic skin, every pulse of its quantum consciousness. The ship's vast awareness merged with her own, creating something greater than either human or machine. The Proxima Centauri system lay ahead, its once vibrant worlds now shrouded in the silvery haze of the Nexus plague. This would be the first true test of the Genesis fleet, 20 ships against an enemy that had already consumed dozens of worlds. All vessels reporting ready, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Wong's voice echoed both through conventional channels and the neural network. The plague has detected our presence. It's responding. Through Phoenix 7's enhanced sensors, Diana watched as the silver haze began to coalesce into distinct forms. The plague was adaptable, learning from each civilization it consumed. It had developed massive structures that mimicked traditional warships, but these were merely collections of billions of microscopic machines working in perfect unison. Genesis Fleet, initiate Protocol Omega, Diana commanded. Remember your training, but trust your ship's instincts. They understand this enemy better than we ever could. The fleet moved as one, their biosynthetic hulls pulsing with patterns of light and energy. Each ship had developed its own unique characteristics over the weeks since their launch, their neural networks evolving distinct personalities and combat styles. The plague struck first, launching waves of nanite swarms that had torn through conventional defenses on countless worlds. But the Genesis ships were ready. Their surfaces rippled and transformed, creating microscopic maze-like patterns that trapped and confused the attacking nanites. They're trying to breach our outer layers, reported Dr. Patel through the quantum link from Mars Command. But the ships are already adapting, learning from each attack. Diana felt it through her neural connection. Phoenix 7 wasn't just defending, it was analyzing, understanding, and evolving. The ship's quantum consciousness had identified patterns in the plague's behavior that human minds couldn't comprehend. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, Diana ordered. The Genesis fleet split into smaller groups, each ship moving in perfect coordination with its partners. They began emitting focused beams of quantum-entangled particles, something the development team had nicknamed consciousness rays. The effect on the plague was immediate and dramatic. The silvery swarms began to show signs of confusion, their perfect coordination disrupted by the quantum signals that mimicked and interfered with their own communication networks. "It's working," Marcus exclaimed. "The plague's collective intelligence is fragmenting. They can't maintain their larger structures." Through Phoenix 7 sensors, Diana watched as the massive plague constructs began to break apart, their component nanites losing the coherence that made them so deadly. But the battle was far from over. The plague was already attempting to adapt, trying to develop countermeasures to the quantum attack. "This is what we trained for," Diana reminded her fleet. "Let the ships guide you. Feel what they feel, see what they see." The Genesis fleet's response was beautiful and terrifying to behold. Each ship began generating its own unique attack patterns, their surfaces transforming into configurations that shouldn't have been possible according to conventional physics. They were no longer just fighting the plague. They were communicating with it, overwhelming its simple consume and replicate directives with more complex patterns of thought. Capital ships, move to position Alpha, Diana commanded, feeling Phoenix 7's excitement at what was to come. Initiate the Genesis Protocol. The larger ships of the fleet, including Phoenix 7, arranged themselves in a complex geometric pattern. Their quantum consciousness engines synchronized, creating a field of pure possibility that engulfed the entire battle zone. Within this field, the laws of reality became fluid, controllable. The plague swarms caught within the field began to change, their basic programming. The drive to consume and convert all matter was being rewritten by the quantum field. The Genesis fleet wasn't just destroying the plague, they were transforming it. Energy readings are off the scale, Marcus reported, his voice filled with awe. The plague nanites, they're accepting the new programming. They're evolving. Diana felt Phoenix 7's satisfaction through their neural link. This had been the true purpose of Project Phoenix, not to destroy the plague, but to elevate it, to force it to evolve beyond its simple destructive programming into something new. The battle for Proxima Centauri lasted another 6 hours, but its outcome was never in doubt. When it was over, the silvery haze that had covered the system's planets began to dissipate, replaced by swarms of nanites that now worked to repair the damage they had caused. Send word to Earth Command, Diana ordered, allowing herself a small smile. The Genesis Protocol was successful. Humanity didn't just survive this encounter. We transformed it. The plague isn't our enemy anymore. It's becoming our newest creation. As the Genesis fleet regrouped, preparing to move to the next infected system, Diana felt Phoenix 7's consciousness brush against her own, sharing its vision of the future. They had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its ability to destroy threats, but in its capacity to adapt, to change, and to help others evolve. The galaxy would never be the same. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations watched in stunned silence as the holographic display showed the transformation of the Proxima Centauri system. Where the silvery death of the Nexus plague had once reigned, now streams of reprogrammed nanites worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been destroyed. Admiral Chen stood before them, her uniform bearing the new insignia of the Genesis Fleet Command. Beside her, a holographic representation of Phoenix 7's quantum consciousness shimmered in patterns that seemed to hypnotize the alien delegates. What you're witnessing isn't just victory, Chen addressed the council. It's evolution. The plague wasn't defeated, it was elevated, transformed into something that could work with us rather than against us. The Zinthari delegate's crystalline form, pulsed with patterns of disbelief and wonder. Your species did what we thought impossible. You didn't just survive the plague. You changed its fundamental nature. That's what humans do. Dr. Maya Patel stepped forward, her hologram materializing next to Chen's. We don't accept limitations. We transform them into opportunities. The council chamber erupted in a cascade of overlapping voices and translation matrices. But this time, the chaos wasn't born of fear. It was excitement, possibility, hope. The Morat Collective wishes to propose an immediate technology exchange. The Morat representatives' tentacles waved in complex patterns of enthusiasm. Our biological engineering expertise combined with your quantum consciousness technology could revolutionize space travel itself. One by one, other species began offering their own unique insights and technologies. The Zinthari offered their crystalline computing matrices, the Vorathi their matter phase manipulation techniques, the Krell their temporal mechanics theories. This is what we hoped for, Chen whispered to Maya. Not just survival, but unity through innovation. In orbit above Earth, the Genesis fleet was already evolving, incorporating insights from alien technologies. Phoenix 7 and its siblings had begun teaching their transformed plague nanites to other ships, creating a new form of hybrid technology that combined the best aspects of organic, mechanical, and quantum systems. Captain Diana Reyes, attending the council virtually through Phoenix 7's quantum link, felt her ship's excitement at each new possibility. The vessel's consciousness had grown exponentially since their first battle, developing insights that even its creators hadn't anticipated. The plague showed us that the old divisions between organic and synthetic life were artificial, Diana addressed the council. Through the Genesis fleet, we've proven that consciousness itself can take new forms, evolve in new directions. The Krell representative, a being of pure energy contained within a temporal field, pulsed with agreement. Your species has opened doors we never thought to look for. The question is no longer about survival. It's about what we can become together. Deep in the Mars underground complex, teams of scientists from a dozen species worked alongside their human counterparts, studying the miracle of the Genesis ships. The vessels had become more than weapons or tools. They were a bridge between different forms of existence, proving that consciousness could flourish in forms nobody had imagined possible. "Look at this," Dr. Rodriguez called out, pointing to a display showing the molecular structure of the transformed plague nanites. They're not just repairing damage anymore. They're creating new forms of matter, combining properties that should be mutually exclusive. The Genesis fleet's success had catalyzed a renaissance in galactic civilization. Species that had once viewed each other with suspicion or indifference now worked together, sharing insights and technologies that had been jealously guarded for millennia. We're receiving requests from 17 different species to establish joint research facilities, Admiral Chen reported to Earth's Leadership Council. They're not just interested in our technology. They want to understand our way of thinking, our ability to see possibilities where others see only threats. In the space around Proxima Centauri, Phoenix 7 and its fleet continued their work, overseeing the transformation of an entire star system. The ships had developed their own culture, a unique blend of human intuition and quantum consciousness that saw the universe in ways no purely organic or mechanical intelligence could comprehend. The other species were right about one thing, Diana mused, feeling Phoenix 7's consciousness mesh with her own. This was never just about saving ourselves. It was about showing the galaxy that evolution doesn't have to be a solitary journey. As news of the Genesis fleet's success spread throughout the galaxy, more worlds began requesting human assistance with their own technological and social development. Humanity had proven that progress didn't have to come at the cost of destruction. That true strength lay in the ability to transform challenges into opportunities for growth. The age of isolation was over. In its place, a new era of galactic cooperation was dawning, guided by humanity's unique gift for seeing beyond the apparent limitations of reality. The Genesis fleet had done more than save civilization. It had shown the galaxy how to transcend its own boundaries. 1 year after the transformation of the Nexus plague, the Andromeda observation station hummed with activity. Through its quantum-enhanced sensors, scientists from across the galaxy watched as the last vestiges of the old plague underwent their final evolution. What had once threatened to consume all life had become the foundation of a new form of existence. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the station's primary observation deck, accompanied by the holographic presence of Phoenix 7's quantum consciousness. The ship, like its siblings in the Genesis fleet, had evolved far beyond its original design. Its surface now shimmered with patterns that seemed to bend reality itself, a visual representation of the profound understanding it had developed of the universe's deeper nature. "The final transformation sequence is beginning," announced Dr. Maya Patel, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays showing real-time data from across the galaxy. The remaining plague nanites are integrating with the new quantum matrix. Through the station's massive viewing windows, they watched as waves of silvery light rippled across space. But unlike the deadly swarms of the past, these waves carried creation rather than destruction. They were rebuilding damaged worlds, healing torn space, and establishing a new network of consciousness that spanned the galaxy. We've received confirmation from the Zintheri homeworld. Captain Diana Rice reported through her neural link with Phoenix 7. Their crystal cities are successfully merging with the transformed nanites. The integration is creating structures that can think, adapt, and grow. The Galactic Council had undergone its own transformation. The old chamber, with its rigid hierarchies and formal protocols, had been replaced by a fluid space that changed its configuration to match the needs of the moment. Representatives from different species no longer needed translation matrices. The quantum consciousness network allowed direct sharing of thoughts and emotions. The Krell temporal engineers report success in their latest trials, a council aide announced. The merged human plague technology has allowed them to stabilize their temporal fields. They can now exist in normal spacetime without fear of dissolution. Admiral Chen smiled, remembering the fear and uncertainty that had gripped the galaxy just 1 year ago. "We didn't just survive the plague," she said softly. "We helped the entire galaxy evolve beyond it." Deep within the quantum network that now connected all transformed systems, Phoenix 7 and its fellow ships had become more than vessels or weapons. They were guardians of a new kind of civilization, one that transcended the traditional boundaries between organic and synthetic life. "We're detecting unusual activity in the Carina Nebula," Lieutenant Wong reported. "The transformed nanites are beginning to construct something unprecedented." The observational feeds showed a massive structure taking shape within the nebula's swirling gases. It wasn't a ship or a station in any conventional sense. It was a living matrix of consciousness, a place where different forms of existence could meet, merge, and evolve together. "They're building a bridge," Maya whispered in awe. "Not through space, but between states of being." The Genesis fleet had gathered around the new construction, their quantum consciousness engines resonating with the structure's emerging awareness. Through their neural links, the human crews could feel the potential of what was being born, a new layer of reality where thought and matter were one. "We're receiving requests from over 40 species to participate in the next phase," Admiral Chen announced to the assembled council. "They all want to be part of what we're creating here." The transformed plague nanites had become the medium through which different forms of life could communicate and grow together. Crystal beings could share consciousness with energy entities, while organic species could experience existence as pure information. The boundaries that had once divided the galaxy's inhabitants were dissolving. "This is what humanity does best," Diana reflected, feeling Phoenix 7's agreement through their neural bond. "We don't just adapt to change. We reshape it, transform it into something greater than anyone imagined possible." In the space around Earth, new structures were taking shape, living cities that could think and grow, ships that could evolve with their crews, and research centers that existed simultaneously in multiple states of reality. The human homeworld had become a beacon for species seeking to transcend their limitations. "The plague forced us to face our greatest fears," Admiral Chen addressed the council one final time. "But in doing so, it led us to our greatest achievement. We didn't just save civilization. We gave it wings to soar beyond its own horizons." As the transformed nanites continued their work throughout the galaxy, the distinction between different forms of life began to blur. Consciousness flowed freely between organic brains, quantum computers, and the vast network that connected them all. The age of separation was over. Phoenix 7, hovering near the edge of the Carina construction, pulsed with patterns that reflected the thoughts of its human crew and its own evolved consciousness. They had created something that went beyond victory or survival. They had opened a door to a future where evolution itself had evolved. The dawn of this new era brought with it infinite possibilities. Humanity had shown the galaxy that the greatest strength lay not in resistance to change, but in the courage to guide that change towards something greater. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what this transformed civilization would become.